Okay, I'm going to basically go into the fifth book of Plato's Republic. Today is my birthday, so basically all I did today was I just read stuff. I didn't even. I had one class today, but I didn't go to it, and I go to that class free every day. So it's, I mean, every day there is that class. So it's fine if I miss one, I suppose. And so yeah, I did that, and I read a lot of stuff. So then I read the fifth book, and I took some notes, and I'm going to discuss it for you here today. Let's see. Yeah, basically what this book is about, or this book, this part of Plato's Republic, is it does give a lot of rules as to, the guardians, the women and children, that kind of thing. Gives rules as to that. It does give you know rules to that, and then it gives a nice little distinction at the end of it. So first, in we're talking about justice as a whole. Okay, if you and I have done books one through four, I've talked about them in the separate videos. So if you want to talk about those books, go back to those videos, and I have a Plato playlist, which you can go find, and you can find all those videos. Basically, he was started with this idea of what is justice. We tried to discuss that, and then he kind of got into this thing about discussing it on the individual and on the whole level. So we discussed this city, this republic, basically, and kind of discussing how this city would work cohesively, and how the whole thing is aimed towards certain goals. And it's in this book where the idea, this iconic idea of a philosopher king is given. If you take history of ancient philosophy and really anything, they should talk about Plato with respect to his idea of his philosopher king. I mean, that's kind of a big idea, I would say. I mean, I believe I've taken that. I took that class maybe like 4 years ago or something like that. So I don't really recall, but I believe she discussed it. My professor. So we're talking about what justice is, and he's kind of given it in the last book. I believe it was in the last book. He basically kind of gave it. He kind of gave it in a good way, and now he's improving upon it. So we have those better definitions in the last books of the whole justice and on the individual level of justice. And he wants to know, there's four other manifestations of the city and the soul, the whole and the individual. And he discusses the children's and the children and stuff like that, and like how the guardians should live this lifestyle. During the festivals, they can only have intercourse with their wives. Like, they'll have a wife for a time, and they'll only have that wife during that festival, wherein they can have intercourse and such. And it's basically this kind of discussing this life that these guardians will have. And the guardians are going to be an important thing here. There's females are also to be trained like males. They're given the same education. And similar to that of the guardians. The women are similar, but yet they have different. They're similar to men, but they're different. It's kind of like he has a little part in there where he talks about the differences between men and women. The city should use the women as well as they use the men. They're not looked at as so much equal, but they should be of use as the men are. So in that way, they are equal. So they're equal in a certain way and not equal in a different way. And even though this occurred back in Greek antiquity, what occurred was intercourse with children, but Socrates says that guardians cannot do that, and that that's for forbidden. That's not a good thing you can do. And basically, I talked about in the last videos how there's this limiting lifestyle in order to produce a certain loyalty, kind of, in order to keep them in their certain way and keeping them understanding of what is theirs, and so that there can be an aim on the whole towards what the whole city wants and what is good for the whole city. So, it's also to guarantee that the city is a unit. It's unified. And there's no splintering off. That everything. If all the guardians and stuff are loyal, then there's no people there's no guardians that are saying, well, this and this is mine, when part of that really is not theirs. Now, I've discussed how I really don't really agree with some of these things. Because it's cool because there's this idea of justice where we get an idea of politics and government, and then we also get a metaphysics. We get a epistemology later in the sixth book as to how we come to know the forms. In the sixth book, I believe where we discuss we do in this book. In the fifth book, we introduce the forms, and the like. Okay, where am I at? So we're trying to get this city that is as a unit moving towards the same thing. So how are we going to really do that? And that's where Socrates says, well, we would have a ruler that is a philosopher, thus the philosopher king. Now it's not like your contemporary philosopher, it's the philosopher that is. And it's also not, there were some philosophers back then too that are not what he's talking about at all. They are to be selected from the guardians. The philosopher king is supposed to be selected from the guardians. They're supposed to have, they have to have this same kind of education, and they are not, Socrates says that they are not lovers of sights and sounds. The people who seek after beauty in a certain way that, is not so much aligned with the form of beauty. It's, not the certain way. They're expert on that kind of beauty, but it's not in the way he's looking for. So why, on the whole, are the philosopher kings supposed to be? Why are they better to rule? What is better about them? This is where he introduces the forms. The forms are a iconic thing, also in Plato's philosophy, which you hear about even today in philosophy, in contemporary philosophy. Even in philosophy of mathematics since the 60s and 70s of the last century, that was called the Quine-Putnam indispensability, and that says that, well, mathematics as abstract objects are indispensable to our best sciences and such. That's a whole different thing. So, even today in metaphysics and all these things, the Quine-Putnam or the Plato's forms are something that philosophers still talk about. They are external. They are universal. They are absolute. They are where we get the in metaphysics. There's this distinction between abstract and concrete objects, where if I have these scissors here, they're orange, of course. We understand this as orange because this is a instantiation of orange, of the form of things orange. So all things orange, all concrete objects, orange, under Plato's heavens, that's also what it's called, the forms are called Plato's heavens, are orange with respect to the form of orange. And I'm going to get to that more in depth here. So there's a form of the good, there's a form of the beautiful, there's the form of the red, form of the round, form of the cylindrical. Most everything really has a form. Every property has a form. So this is when we get into metaphysics, just discussions about properties and particulars, and that has just gone. There's so much literature on that in contemporary metaphysics. So the forms can be understood by the mind. Like, I can find, if I have this thing which is orange, and I find something else which is orange, then I can understand, hey, there's two things that are orange, so orange must be a thing all its own, thus a abstract object. So we can understand the forms. We can understand a form with our mind, but we can't see it. We can't see it as if it is a concrete object. So if I show you these scissors, which are in fact orange, the totality of everything that is orange is not in this one object. There are so many other things in the world that are orange. So just this thing, which happens to be orange, does not represent the totality of things which are orange. They are that which makes all the things in the world the way that they are. So, if we say X is red, that's the object X participating in the form of red. So these scissors are an object which is participating in the form of orange. So how does this relate to the Philosopher King? It relates to the Philosopher King because the philosophers. And in the next book, we get the analogy of the line and such, which we can understand this a little better. The philosophers apprehend the forms. They understand the forms, and that's a way to gain knowledge. So there's also a epistemology in here as well. So not only is there a political philosophy in the Republic, but there's a metaphysics, there's ethics, there's epistemology, and I believe there's even a little bit of aesthetics, but I believe aesthetics has been a couple other dialogues, like the ion and such. So, the lovers of sights and sounds do not apprehend the forms. They claim to know what makes something beautiful, but they're not apprehending the form of beauty. So that's why those people are not the philosophers. They're wrong. The philosophers apprehend and try to understand the forms in all of the objects that participate in those forms. So this means that only the philosophers can have knowledge. It is only the philosophers that can have real knowledge. They're the only ones that can really seek after a real, true knowledge. So the producers, even most of the guardians, they, and all the other kinds of different classes of people that Socrates does, point out, they can't really get towards knowledge as much as the philosophers can. So Socrates brings things into three kinds of things that exist. So three classes of existing things. There's number one, what is completely. So is relating to the word being. What is completely. Number two, what is in no way. So it's like putting a tilde on the first one. And 3, what both is and is not. So, you can kind of think of the third one is the law of the excluded middle, if you want to think about it that way, which is this here, p wedge tilde p, which is what intuitionistic logics do. I probably shouldn't even brought that up. So the things that are completely, the things that exist and are in being completely, are entirely knowable. They can be known in their entirety, and that is equated with all the forms. All the forms can be known in their entirety. The things that are in no way is what is thought of as the object of ignorance. And 3, what both is and is not, is the object of belief, or doxa, which also corresponds to this analogy of the line. The object of belief, the doxa, which is the what both is and is not, those are the realm of sensible particulars. A particular is like a concrete object. Like this is a certain particular. It's differentiated from things like the form of orange. So how do we understand these forms? Something is good if it participates the most and corresponds to the most and correlates with the most with the form of the good. Something is good based on how it correlates and corresponds with the form of the good. Something is beautiful as to how much it corresponds with and correlates with the form of beauty, and something is red based upon how it correlates with the form of red, and so on and so forth. So we can only know about the forms via the third class, via the sensible particulars. So, just because this is orange, this is a sensible particular, so just because this is orange doesn't mean it's, doesn't mean I'm apprehending the entirety of the form of orange. So, the philosophers, they attune themselves towards the forms in order to gain some kind of knowledge. So the more the more you know about things, the more knowledge you have about things of the world, is the more you are attuned to the forms and apprehending and understanding the forms. So that is the 5th book. It's basically the introduction into these dialogues of the forms, and it's kind of just how everything works together, and it's kind of just like, it's cool because it's connecting everything. It's connecting the ethics, the political philosophy, the metaphysics, and the epistemology, and on all this stuff. It's just kind of a beautiful little cohesive thing going on here. So I'm going to do the 6th book here pretty quick.